Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham Dhammam Sangham Namasami. So today we're going to look at a number of suttas, some extracts, and a couple of short suttas that talk about the gratification, danger, and escape. And this is actually related to understanding the Four Noble Truths. And I'll explain that as we go along, but it's very closely related, and it's just another way of approaching the Four Noble Truths and the path to liberation. So I'll start out sharing the screen. See. Share. So we have this Sutta Central, and this is Bhante Sujato's translation. And this is entitled In Search of Gratification. And it's if you want to look it up yourself, it's SN 35.15, and it's in the pairs section on pairs in the Salayatana Samyutta, which is a Connected Discourses on the Sixth Sense basis. So the interior means referring to oneself. So, and then the actual physical eye is being talked about here. So the eye, one's own eye. So this is the Buddha speaking. Mendicants, I went in search of the eye's gratification. I found it. I've seen clearly with wisdom the full extent of the eye's gratification. So looking at other suttas, I have the understanding, even in this particular section, that the Buddha before his awakening and the Buddha before he went forth into monastic life was living in luxury as a, in the ruling class. And so it was possible during that time for people just to really, the wealthy people would really indulge themselves. So, so this constant search for sense pleasures. So he said, I went in search of the eye's drawback. I found it. So then what I understand these two elements to mean is he's kind of looking back at that search for gratification and then seeing the drawback. I seen clearly with wisdom the full extent of the eye's drawback. So the danger or the drawback in the eye and seeking pleasure with the eye. And then he went in search. I went in search of the escape from the eye. I found it. I've clearly seen with wisdom the full extent of escape from the eye. I went in search of the ears, the nose, the tongues, the bodies, and the mind's gratification. And I found it. So I think this is looking back again on how he was seeking to gratify the senses, excuse me. And I've seen clearly with wisdom the full extent of the mind's gratification. I went in search of the mind's drawback. I found it. I've seen clearly with wisdom the full extent of the mind's drawback. I went in search of the escape from the mind and found it. I've clearly seen with wisdom the full extent of escape from the mind. As long as I didn't truly understand these 6 interior sense fields, gratification, drawback, and escape, for what they are, I didn't announce my supreme perfect awakening. But when I did truly understand, knowledge and vision arose in me. My freedom is unshakable. This is my last rebirth. Now there'll be no more future lives. So he declared this when this is that exploration of the Four Noble Truths in the Dhammacakkappavattana. He made this declaration similar. This is a very shortened declaration, but very similar. So I'm not going to spend so much time on this one. I just wanted to read through it because there are other suttas that I have that have more detail. Do you have any comments on this so far, IA?
I think it'll come later.
Okay. So here, this is the one we just looked at, Seeking Gratification, SN 35.15. And I wanted to review again the honey ball or honey cake. And see, he was talking about the eye, and when there's the eye and forms visible by the eye and eye consciousness, 3 come together and there's contact, and then feeling arises. And so this is the extract here, where there is the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, ideas, and mind consciousness, it will be possible to discover the evidence of contact. Where there's the evidence of contact, it'll be possible to discover the evidence of feeling. So feeling arises due to the contact of all 6 sense gates. And what he was actually doing is seeking pleasure, pleasant vedana, a pleasant feeling. All that seeking is actually boiling down to seeking pleasure at the 6 sense basis. So I just wanted to pull that in. Now here, there's a teaching to Ananda, and this is in the Samyutta Nikaya, but this is it's in the Connected Discourses on feeling, which is, I got a little confused when I started doing my research on this, because this one is SN 3515 and this is SN 3615. So I got kind of confused. But they're both speaking about the gratification, danger, and escape. And Vedana is one of the 5 khandhas, and it's also, it comes up as a result of contact at all 6 sense bases. And we seek the pleasant, we try to avoid the unpleasant, and we ignore the neutral feeling. So here we can get into more detail about the Four Noble Truths and causal conditionality. This is cause, sometimes Bhikkhu Ajahn Tanisaro calls it this, that conditionality or something like that. Because of this, that happens. With the arising of this arises. With the cessation of this, that ceases. That's going to be spoken about in this sutta. So we can start. So this is the actual start of the sutta here. Then Venerable Ananda went up to the Buddha, sat down to one side, and said to him, "Sir, what is feeling? What's the origin of feeling? What's the cessation of feeling? What's the practice that leads to the cessation of feeling?" So you see here, there's this, the framework of the Four Noble Truths. So what's the origin of dukkha? But he goes to immediately to cessation rather than looking at the origin. Oh, here it is. The origin, the cessation, and the practice leading to the cessation of suffering. Instead of suffering, it's feeling here. So here we have Vedana. Could use that boldest one. Vedana, and then the origin, Vedana Samudayo, and the cessation, Vedana Nirodho, Vedana Nirodho Gamini Patipada. So that's kind of the same framework of the Four Noble Truths. And then he asks, and what's the feeling? What is feelings, gratification, drawback, and escape? So this is gratification, asado. Adinavo is sometimes, Bhante Bodhi translates it as danger, and nisarana is the escape. Thanks for joining us, Joseph. And so then the Buddha answers very kindly. Ananda, there are these three feelings: pleasant, painful, and neutral. So, oops, this is Sukha Vedana, Dukkha Vedana, Adukkha Masukham Vedana. These are called feelings. Feeling originates from contact. Phassa samudaya, Vedana samudayo. When contact ceases, feeling ceases. So this is a this, that conditionality. Phassa nirodha, Vedana nirodho. The practice that leads to the cessation of feeling is simply this Noble Eightfold Path. That is, right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right immersion. Samaditi, etc. Sama sankapo, sama vacha, sama kamanto, sama vayamo, sama sati, sama samadhi. I think I got them all. Yes.
I wasn't tracking it, but I was happily bouncing along with it.
Okay. I think I got them all.
I think you did too. Nothing jumped out at me.
Okay. So the pleasure and happiness that arise from feeling, that is its gratification. So this is Sukham Somanasam. And that's the asad, the gratification. That feeling is impermanent, suffering, and perishable. This is its drawback. Yeah, Vedana anicca dukkha viparinama dhamma. Ayam Vedanaya adinavo. So this is the danger. So interesting to me that also the danger is that it draws us back to the cycles of rebirth. This is, but
Dangerous.
hmm?
That's pretty dangerous.
That's pretty dangerous. Yes. So it's kind of like what they had, the bronze cup that had in one of the suttas that had the delicious liquid in it, but it was poison. And somebody who was thirsty, famished and thirsty, and would they drink that? Would you drink from that cup? So here, removing and giving up desire and greed for feeling, this is its escape. Yo Vedanaya Chanda Raga Vineo Chanda Raga Ahanam Idam Vedanaya Nisaranam. So that's the escape. And then it's interesting here. I ellipsed it because it has more explanations, but he says, but I would also explain the progressive cessation of conditions. And for someone who has attained the first absorption, speech has ceased. And then he goes through this is ellipsed in the sutta, but the second jhana, so vacha, the mental, the verbal formations have ceased. And then the vitaka vichara has ceased in the second jhana, and then the whole progression through all the through the form jhanas and the formless jhanas all the way to the cessation of perception and feeling. So this is where one-way feeling ceases. Perception and feeling ceases at this sanya vedana. This is a long word. Sanya vedani tanirodam. That's nirodha sampati. And then he says, for a mendicant who has ended the defilements, greed, hate, and delusion have ceased. So this person here would be an arahant, the one whose defilements have completely been destroyed. And I think this happens, a person who can attain this cessation of perception and feeling, I think that's at non-return. And then they may attain arahantship by reflecting on this. That's my understanding.
I didn't think you had to be a non-returner, but I'm not there yet, so I can't
We
tell
can't
you.
tell you, but this is like what this is after you've attained the four attainments and the four formless attainments, and then after that.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty high attainment. I think our hope here is really working on giving up and abandoning as much as we can the, can you see this? There's nothing in the way, right? Okay. Um,
Oh, you mean, yeah.
yeah, I've just put this over that way. Yeah, it's over at the side. Yeah, removing and giving up desire and greed for feeling. This is its escape. So I think as much as we can reduce our craving, the more it's kind of like this is our hope. Certainly we want to work on the other attainments and you know, realize in some lifetime arhatship. So the complete destruction of no further rebirth. But for now, we can reduce the amount of suffering. So here we have a Chandaraga Vinaya, the removal of interest and passion, removing desire and lust for. So that's for feeling, for Vedana. A Chandaraga. Chanda, in this case, it's not a wholesome form of chanda. It's if you're desiring, it's passion, Chandaraga, desire and lust, it's called. When these two are paired together, it's the chanda is no longer a wholesome quality, or it hasn't become a wholesome quality. And Pahana is giving up, letting go, removal, abandoning. So I think we're reducing our dukkha. At least we can reduce it, and we don't have to be kind of slaves to our desire. We don't have to be cravings, slave. So, what time is it?
22.
Okay, so we got plenty of time. Very good. So then here is another sutta. And this is from the Kanda Samyutta. So these all interconnect. And Vedana is the second of the 5 khandas. And this again, this is gratification. And this is at Sawati. Bhikkhus, before my enlightenment, while I was still a bodhisattva, not yet fully enlightened, it occurred to me, what is the gratification? What is the danger? What is the escape in the case of form? And that's physical form, externally, or your own body. What is the gratification? What is the danger? What is the escape in the case of feeling, Vedana, perception, sanya, volitional formations, that's sankhara, and consciousness, vijnana. Then, because it occurred to me, the pleasure and joy that arise from independence on form, that is its gratification, or that is the gratification in form. That form is impermanent, suffering, and subject to change. This is the danger in form. The removal, hello, the removal and abandonment of desire and lust for form. This is the escape from form. So this goes a little bit more detail in the description of the gratification, danger, and the escape. The pleasure and joy that arise in dependence on feeling, independence on perception, independence on volitional formations, independence on consciousness. This is the gratification in consciousness, that consciousness is impermanent, suffering, and subject to change. This is the danger in consciousness, the removal and abandonment of desire and lust for consciousness. This is the escape from consciousness. So long, because as I did not directly know as they really are, the gratification, the danger, and the escape in the case of these 5 aggregates subject to clinging, I did not claim to have awakened the unsurpassed perfect enlightenment in this world with its devas, Mara, Brahma, in this generation with its ascetics and Brahmins, its devas and humans. But when I directly knew all this as it really is, then I claim to have awakened to the unsurpassed perfect enlightenment in this world with its devas, humans, and so on. The knowledge and vision arose in me, unshakable as my liberation of mind. This is my last birth. Now there is no more renewed existence. So, does anyone have any questions or comments on this sutta or ones that we looked at? You have something to say, IA?
If there are questions, we could start there. I'm not sure what I would say might veer a little.
Pardon me?
I might veer off a little, so start with any immediate questions and comments.
Okay, good. Does this all seem pretty workable, sensible?
All right, well then, in this last sutta, see, Bhikkhu Bodhi's, he uses the word dependent. So dependent on form, dependent on feeling, dependent on perception, etc. And the investigation for me is to actually feel and acknowledge that dependence and what is it that's arising out of dependence. And what I'm finding is it's really me that's arising out of that dependence. It's this identity view. It's this sense of and then the grasping after that. So in the first one, sutta, we had how it was dependent on contact, and then the removal of the contact, the feeling would go away. And then, but I was curious about that as far as like physical pain and the identification with this sensation of the pain and who is having the pain. It's my pain. And I don't know if others have noticed that sometimes the actual pain will have dissipated, but the contraction around it and the identification with it being my pain still lingers and gets fed even. And so, realizing that, oh, now I'm actually in a different of the khandhas. I'm in this loop of the sankharas, the becomings, and I'm feeding a different the mental. I'm feeding the mental aspect of me and my pain. I think physical pain's from the form aspect is one that's kind of easy to start with. but it also has the emotional tones and what I perceive and what I, each of those places where I'm grasping after it and becoming and meing. And that is the gratification is I get to be me, whether that's a nice me or an uncomfortable me, it's still something that I get to be and identify with, and it's juicy. And that is also the danger of, I was talking about you get to be born again.
Yeah, so that's the gratification at the mind,
Yeah.
the mental gratification. So even with pain, you can find so not not just sadistically, but the wrapped up in the sense of
Yes.
or what is it called, masochistically,
I,
not masochistically,
but I think
but
it is.
in the making of a self,
Yep.
there's gratification.
But that word is actually the word that came up to me this morning. It's like, we're all masochists. I mean, I think that's the Dhamma talk for the futures. We're all masochists. And it's out of delusion that we think that this kind of pleasure is what is worth pursuing. I mean, it helps really explain leaders in the world and what they're pursuing. And, when we really see it as, in some sense, we're all masochists, we derive pleasure out of something that's intrinsically painful, which is the danger. When we start to see the danger, only then can we say, oh, I'm playing with children's toys as opposed to getting pleasure out of the deep contentment of the stilling, or that um what was it, not feeling, not perceiving,
The cessation
cessation.
of perception and feeling.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm glad you used the word masochist because I'd forgotten about this morning. It was like,
that's it.
we're
Yeah,
all masochists.
yeah.
What are we doing?
Um, I think because um most of us aren't in that trap of that continuous seeking for gratification, of delighting and pleasurable,
In the grossest sense,
and
maybe
then
we're
the
not, but
grosser sense,
I'm
but
sure all over it a lot of the time.
yeah, so it's not as blatant. I think it's, yeah, it gets more and more subtle, but uh we all have our habits, like my cup of tea in the morning, or it's seemingly innocent, like wanting to look out and see the day, and what, wanting to take my walk. And then I see myself suffering because it's so hot that there's not I'm busy in the morning and I didn't get out for my walk, and then I'm looking outside. I'm looking outside and it's like 90 degrees outside, and I don't think it's a good idea to go out walking. It's like, so this is, yeah, it gets more subtle. And I think it's important too, like you were saying, just to notice that grief or suffering, because I can't get what how I usually, you know, the pleasures that
Feel fulfilled. I got my walk in, or I
yeah.
got the temperature to be what I wanted. Yeah, I'm doing it every morning. I'm running the fans opening, and rather than enjoying the temperature that it is right then, I'm trying to drive it as low as possible inside to preserve it for as long as possible. I'm grasping after a
Mhm.
future temperature. Anyone
I
else do this? Yeah.
I think it's okay to do that, but it's when it's that grasping and desperation.
I was noticing this
Yeah.
desperate quality this morning. I'm not sleeping and da da. My story. Yeah, I'm not saying don't take care of ourselves.
No.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we should take care of ourselves. So, anyone else have something to share they'd like to say? Yes?
Um, I just like I see a very firm connection, at least with my conditioning, between this and the second arrow, because there's so I was thinking about we were talking about, my pain. I was on retreat with a couple years ago, and I just had this back pain that I'd never really had on retreat. It wasn't from sitting necessarily. I think it just came up, but I was I was grasping so hard around it, trying to I was stretching and I was like doing all these things that I thought would like make it go away. And instead I was just, you know, being hit by that second arrow and not dealing with that instead and was just, but the minute that I finally saw that it was the second arrow, it was amazing how much it relaxed. Like it wasn't gone, but the all that extra tension that I had built around it kind of fell away. And I was like, wow, that's it's kind of nice to actually have a physical like thing you can remember that physically happened, because I think it's easier to like that the difference, like to actually notice like a difference, I think is helpful. But yeah, but just kept chasing, trying to make it go away, trying to make it go away, aversion, and which is also my conditioning. Tend to be more aversive than grasping, but there was grasping for wanting it to be to go away. So
Yeah, so that's it. This is the dangers the feeling, the body being feeling even neutral is
Mhm.
impermanent.
Yeah.
And then when we're in pain, we want to get back to that neutral or to pleasurable feeling.
Yeah.
So then, so then that's that grasping, that's the part of the second arrow that we're torment ourselves with. Yeah, so it's good you see that, and then there's that shift that happened because it loosens the grip of that. Anyone else? Questions? Oh, Joseph, go ahead.
Thank you, Venerable. So I'm just thinking about this term. When you use the term masochist, perception arises of someone who enjoys inflicting pain upon themselves and is gratified by that. And so it reminds me of the difference, the near and far enemies of compassion, which are cruelty and grief. And so true compassion is the joyful wish may beings be free from suffering. And so what would the healing of masochism look like in terms of a perception that one can have empathetic joy with?
I think that would be it would be um metta for oneself, rejoicing in one's own happiness. There's a form of mudita, which would be starting with oneself, where we rejoice in our own happiness, um, our own success, but it would be in a pure, like a pure form of, yeah, chanda. Chanda would also be, yeah, rejoicing in our own goodness. So anything in that realm, I think, would be the opposite, direct opposite.
And then this aspect of seeing the satisfaction, and then seeing the limitations of the kind of satisfaction that we're perceiving is there in our behaviors that are both painful but pleasant and invigorating for us. Now, when we really do see that gratification danger, then the escape happens, and with the escape, I think you really can't turn the key without the metta. That's what helps us to like go through the door and say, yes, I care about this life. And now that I see that this behavior is actually harmful, I'm choosing to be compassionate to myself. And I'm going to rejoice that I can make decisions and choices that are actually more gratifying than this form of distressful pleasure that is so impermanent and is dukkha.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So anything in that realm of the well, the first three Brahma Viharas, because that would be that kind of the joy that comes up, and that was a pure joy of the first three. But Chaga, okay, so the Chaga Nusati also would be within that too.
Should we araham and go to the after party?
I don't know. Does anyone else have a?
Like closing my computer, I disappeared from the screen. That's fine. I'm still here.
So is that enough for now? I could just show briefly something.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of research. I did one because it was interesting how. Let's share the screen. This is the very bottom of the document. I actually got this off of Wikipedia. And that last sutta was talking about the cessation of perception and feelings. And yeah, that's a Sanya Waden Naita Niroda. And it's maybe not correctly called the ninth jhana because it's after the form and the four formed and formless jhanas or attainments. And yeah, it's according to Buddhaghosa Visuddhimagga, it is characterized by temporary suppression of consciousness and its concomitant mental factors. So the feeling and perception are mental factors, and everything else has ceased except for those two. This is actual cessation. So somebody in that state is not dead, but the life force is present and the bodily heat is present. So I don't know how useful that is, but you can look at those whole Sariputta looked back and examined each one of those the four jhanas and the four formless attainments, and then he attained the cessation of perception and feeling. So if you're interested in it, that's in Majjhima Nikaya 111. If you want to, it's but he looks back and examines all the components of each of the and within those states until he got to neither perception nor non-perception. And then you had to look back after exiting it. And then also with the cessation of perception of feeling, he had to exit that attainment and look back at that. But that's actually where he, it says in this sutta, he's attained arahantship. So anyway, I just thought I'd just share that little research I did. So anything else that anyone else would like to say or ask? So we can end then. We'll close with the homage to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Let's see. And we change from gallery view. That's what we do. Okay, so we'll turn towards the altar. Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddham Bhagavantam Abhivademi Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasa Supatipanno Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Sangham Namami. Thank you for joining us. If you'd like to stay on after we close the